Hello friends, it's Rosemead and welcome back to the island. Today we're going to have fun with tiles. Now if you don't know much about tiles, they're in the shop here. And if you just hit this symbol, all of them will come up. We're already there. So if you click away, this is the decorations. These are the coin producing houses. This one is the seasonal sets, whatever symbol it is. Right now it's a pumpkin for fall, but that changes. And this is a limited time decorations, which I have never really purchased. I've only once purchased these items. That was because I really needed it for something. But otherwise it seems kind of pricey. Have you ever gotten those? But anyways, let's go back to the tiles. Now, some of the tiles have some different uses, some surprising uses, and we're going to go back to the front and start at the beginning. Now, if you have not played for long, you may not have all of these open yet. So now first we have the hedge here, and I'll exit the shop and bring up my ship. So you can bring up the ship by going down the ship, or hold your your finger down or whatever, cursor down, and it'll bring up your ship. Now, instead of scrolling down and finding it, you can also just click down here the corresponding item. Okay, so if you click on that, you should just bring up, there we go, these are the hedges. So on its own, the hedge just looks like that. It just looks like a pawn in a chess game. But when you put two together, that's when they create the hedge. So if you just want a little decoration in front of a house, you can put that on either side of the house. So let's, I should pull up a building. That would be good. Okay, so if we want to pull up the hedge again, go back to the tile tab, and here we go. We just want to put a hedge here and put one here. Now they're just decorating the opera house on either side like that. And then maybe you want to put a walkway in the middle or such. And you can decorate it like that way, or if you want to put a fence around it, you can continue doing that around the opera house. Now the next one on the list that does interesting things. Not all of these do. A lot of them are just as a show. And the next one that I think is interesting is this soiree flower bed. And that one I have on my ship. And the reason why I think that one is interesting is, once again, that one doesn't always look like you think it's going to be. So here it is, right here. And if you do just one of them, whoops, it looks like that. So it's just a little flower urn thing, and it's like a silvery greenery thing, and you can use that to decorate and accent things. And once you put them next to each other, then they will create the red flower between them. So if you want to you can even put them diagonal, then they won't connect, or you can put them next to each other and make their what they're intended to do, and then they will curve around too, like they show. Okay, so let's put those on the sides. We're just going to decorate the opera house with all the different flowers. So the next item in the tile list that I think does interesting things is the hay bales. It's not so much interesting as different. So I have over here my barn, and so this is the hay bale fence. Now on its own, if you just do one, it's just a hay bale with some hay around it. But when you put it together, oops, sometimes I don't like using my PC, but it's a lot easier to demonstrate. But when you put them together, that's when they make the hay bale fence. So I often just put one hay bale here and there around my farm, because then it just looks like you're feeding the animals. So I like that one. I'm not going to put that around the opera house. It's kind of not an opera house thing. This tile is the waterfall column, this one. And that one, but on its own, it looks like, okay, this is what it looks like together. And by itself, it looks like little tiny palm trees, little accents like that. So it's a nice little tropical accent and a nice little greenery thing. So I like that. So we're just gonna put that around here. And the nice thing about the waterfall columns, the reason why they call them the waterfall columns, is because when they are curved, they create a waterfall. So I have that in the front here, right here. And the waterfall comes in the curve there. So, but if I take one out by itself, it becomes just a waterfall or just a palm tree, and the waterfall disappears. Okay, the next item that I think is interesting. Okay, by the way, if you ever want to test to see if something does something interesting or not, all you have to do is tap on it. You don't have to pay for it. So then you can see what it looks like. I think the stepping stone by itself looks like a paw print. And then you just exit out and say, you know, I don't want that, but I just wanted to see what it looked like. And you can do that with anything without paying for it, just to see what it looks like. Because sometimes from the image in the shop, you're not really sure how big it is, or tall or short. And so I like to do that sometimes, just to test it out. What is it going to look like on my island? Okay, so the next one is the Zen garden. And I have quite a few Zen garden, because when I started, I thought the Zen garden was really cool, and I made a Zen garden. Have the pink flower, but then when you combine them together, you get the little rock will pop up here and there. It does all these different designs. So on the corners, oftentimes you'll get the rock instead of the flower. But if you take one of them and separate it, you'll get a little flower with a ring around it. And that doesn't say just Zen. So you can put these all over the place, because they're just, oh, they're worth 3. I was thinking they were only worth 1. Okay, so now the next one in the tile shop that I think is interesting is, arrange these two as we go, and we're just going to take the rest of the Zen back. See the ski slope. I know, you wouldn't think the ski slope would be interesting, but I just discovered this one by testing them out. Okay, so check this out. See, that's what it looks like. So you just have a little, like a weed or something, a little a winter bush right there. I'm not going to leave this by the Opera House because it's the wrong season. But otherwise, you would just have the slope there, the ski slope there. And right here is basically the bush. But yeah, by itself, you can just have little bushes and decorate your winter scene, which is going to come up if you put them diagonal. They don't do that, so you can just decorate around your houses. But we're still in fall, so we're going to put the winter away. Okay, and then we're going to move to the rose pathway. This is one of my favorites. And the reason why is because I think it's so pretty when you just separate them out. So one rose pathway, isn't that pretty? So together, they're like that. Oops. Oh, am I buying these? Oops. Anyways, I can use more. But this is what they look like together. But separated, you have this rose with the bottom. It's lighted up rose urn. So you can have all of these. It's just a little illumination there. And why don't we put them up here just to welcome the visitors. And again, we don't need a third. So you can see that there's ways of making a flower garden when you're new, like me, when you don't have all the flower options, because there's some things that is not open to me yet. So another one that I really like is this primrose fence, and it looks like a woven fence with some flowers on it, but it really makes, oops, there I go again. It really makes an interesting flower urn when you have them separated. Okay, so here's the fence, and if we put them separate, look at that. It's like a tall bulbous flower, like that. I really like this one. It's got a little height to it, and it's a little, kind of a fun pom-pom topped ones. So we're just gonna slip that one back there. I know this is kind of an eclectic flower thing. I don't know. Well, we could rearrange these. Actually, I'm not so keen on these here. always fidgeting with my island. Are you always rearranging stuff? I am. Okay, so we move this guy so we can get there. There we go. That's a little better. It's just very odd. All right, and to the shop. The next thing. The yellow flowers right here are the next thing we're going to look at. As you can see, it has a really nice shape to it. And I can show you where I put them in my shop, or in my island. But they just make a nice little accent piece. Right here. Like that. So we'll just put another one here. But if you put them together, they do this until they have, and then they'll curve around too, but you take them apart and you have just a little planter. So I really like this one. And moving along, the next one we have to look at is the flowery fence. I have the flowery fence around my graveyard, and by itself, it makes a little metal planter. Let's see if we can put them up. Go back there. So right here, so you see the metal planter with the little pink flowers on top instead of a fence. So those are kind of fun to put around as well. Are you getting some ideas now of what you can do with some of these? And they're pretty cheap. Whoops, I don't want another one. They're pretty cheap to buy and to accent. I mean, you don't want to buy tons of things like this, but if you just need a little pop here and there, this is a fun way of doing it when you're starting out, or when you just need some accents. Next thing is this watchful gargoyle fence. And this is a new things to the shop since this month, I believe. And I really like it. I didn't think I would because I'm not really a Halloween person, but I like the fence. Anyway, so by itself, you have a gargoyle on a stick, basically. But together, you have this, together is this whole fence here. So it looks like a regular brick fence, and at the end you have the end post, the gargoyle. So if you just want a gargoyle on your island here and there, just sitting there, that is the fence for you, the tile for you. Now, things like the studio wall and the flowery mural, you can get those singly and they will look like that. I'm not going to do that now because they take a long time to develop. But if you just want one post or something here and there, it will look like that. And same thing with the flowering mural, like that, with flower around it. They're not really the style that I have currently on my island, so I haven't utilized those much. Okay, the hedge maze. You know that I really like the hedge maze. Part of my island is just the hedge maze. So, but if you take them and they do some interesting things together. So let's move over here so we can see a little bit more of the hedge maze. And yep, see that right there? What it does? Okay, let's put them. So, okay, where are you going? Okay, so when you put it up against any kind of road, it will connect to the road. And it's just a skinny little connection. So, like, see, it's a footpath, basically. It's not a car road. So, no motor vehicles allowed on that. So, but if you just have it on itself, it will create an archway on each end. You can put them in a circle. It'll create a square. And if you take one out of it, it will create a square on its own, which is also a nice little accent. I know we're no longer really decorating the, building. Words are hard sometimes. But anyway, so that's a nice little accent as well, just to put a little thing, if you just need a low profile item to put on your around. All right, now Okay, trellis pathway. This is a fun one. For a long time, I didn't think this was very pretty. I thought this just like looks like a hot mess. But then I saw it on someone else's island, and I really liked what it could do. So we're going to experiment with the trellis pathway. And let's put a few out. Okay, so I'll take this down. So what the trellis pathway does is it makes like the tube, like basically a trellis you can walk under. And when, you put them together like that, have 4 different roads leading around, it creates this dome. So that is a fun thing to add into maybe your garden walkways or something. And you can probably keep doing that, make domes here and there. You can also do this, and then you'll have a circle here. So there's all kinds of fun things you can do with this. Now, if you take one side away, if I can, then that's gone. But look you still have the circle here, if you just want the circle of the walkway. So this trellis pathway is kind of fun, and you can just play around with that one. And it's prettier than I thought. And the base matches the regular road, so it's very versatile. You can just add it to a few spots along the way, and voila, there you go. Okay. Now the red carpet, I'm not really going to demonstrate it because basically it is what you see. You get a little archway at each end of it. Well, okay, I'll show you. We're here to see, aren't we? Okay, so I'll just show you how that works. Illustrate it. It'll save you the time, and then you'll be able to just experiment. Okay, so here is one. It's all surrounded. And then you add one, and instantly it's not on its own. And the nice thing about this one is it can curve around, so you can create it different directions. But then you can take one away and you just have a little spot. So maybe this would be a great way to make a placeholder of something you're going to put there. And it's just like, to be coming soon, there's going to be something special here. So that'd be kind of a fun thing. I just to mark where I'm going to put a tree here. Or I'm going to put, something's coming in the shop. I've actually started to cook some of my items on my other island and then bring it over here when it's done, just to keep it cleaner here. And yeah, it just seems like it makes sense. Then I could cook them over there and then maybe put this here where I was going to put the items. That would actually work pretty good. Red carpet, yeah, it can come in handy. I just haven't used it much. Okay, the last thing I thought was interesting was this log fence. I really hesitated to use it because look at this, 20 diamonds for 6 flowers. So, I know. But for you guys, I got a couple. And I'll show you why I thought they were interesting. Okay, here they are. And boom, look at. There. Aren't those pretty? They're just like little red flowering bushes in the snow. And that's the fence. But if you put them together, you have your log fence. So, but I don't think they're really worth 20 diamonds, but I'll use them now that I got them. So anyways, now my top of my island's kind of a hot mess, but you can see where you can really have fun with these little tiles that will do something besides what they show you in the shop. But once you start playing around and have fun with them, like this here is one of them that I was showing you before. Filling there, and another hay bale here because gotta feed the horses. All kinds of ways to use the different tiles. I'm really like one thing I forgot to tell you. Oh yeah, is this one garden path. I like the garden path on its own because it makes this circle. And if you do it in a diagonal, you can keep the circle. But once you put them next to each other, then it creates this garden path like that. So this is just the garden path. So yeah. So that's a fun one too, and that I like to play around with. Because sometimes you just have one spot. Here's my blank spots where I took all my stuff out of to show you guys. But once you may have a blank spot here and there, if you just want to put a little circle on, like maybe you just have a stepping stone up to a house or a building, just to put somewhere. I think I used to have more of them, but maybe I don't right now. So there you go. What do you think? Do you think you would play around with these? Did you know all of them? Is there anything that I missed? So let me know that too. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.